Have you ever been trapped in, well, in one of those chaotic, months-long group chats? You know the exact kind I am talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to plan a simple vacation, and the notifications are just constantly pinging.
At all hours of the day and night, it never stops.
Right. And a very simple, practical question like, what time are we leaving?
Yeah.
Somehow spirals into this deeply philosophical debate about punctuality.
It always does.
And half the group seems to be actively trying to sabotage the logistics, while the other half is treating a simple weekend getaway like a highly classified military operation.
Yeah, planning a trip with friends is honestly one of the ultimate stress tests for any relationship. It really is a universal experience.
If you have ever been in one of those chats, or I mean, if you're currently muting one on your phone right now, you are going to feel incredibly seen today.
Oh, 100%.
Because the deep dive we are taking today is into a single, highly entertaining piece of audio.
It's a gold mine.
It really is. It documents the meticulous, borderline obsessive planning of a February road trip.
Yeah, we have this audio note that just completely lays out the entire anatomy of a friend group's journey.
Down to Uti, Wayanad, and Coorg.
And for those who might not know, those are these beautiful mountainous hill stations in southern India.
Gorgeous places.
They are the exact kind of scenic destinations you escape to when you just really need a break from the city.
Exactly. And our mission today is to completely deconstruct this recording. We are going to treat it like a masterclass in friend group dynamics.
Yes.
High-stakes logistics.
And some very creative problem solving.
Okay, let's unpack this.
The part of this recording that really sets the stage is just how early the maneuvering began. If you listen to the audio, you hear them explain that the planning for this trip started many months back.
Right.
And it wasn't just a quick conversation over coffee. This was a sprawling, complex negotiation.
Happening across 3 different time zones.
Via WhatsApp? I mean, just think about the sheer logistical hurdle of that for a second.
It's a nightmare.
You have people waking up, going to sleep, living entirely different daily schedules, all trying to synchronize their brains to plan one single car ride.
And before they could even talk about dates or, car rentals or budgets,
They had to tackle the big one.
the single most divisive issue in any group travel scenario.
Yeah.
They had to decide the fundamental vibe of the trip.
Right.
And how did they define that vibe? Through the food.
Naturally.
The great debate dominating this cross-time zone chat was whether this journey was going to have a seafood focus or a pork and beef focus.
What's fascinating here is how the culinary preference didn't just influence their restaurant choices.
Yeah.
It dictated the entire geographical trajectory of the trip.
Wow. Yeah.
Food is such a primal driver of human behavior, and in the context of travel, it becomes the ultimate compass. They weren't mapping their route based on the best roads or the nicest views. They were literally mapping their coordinates based on protein.
Which is such a brilliant detail because it shows how these minor preferences become proxy wars. Proxy wars for control of the entire itinerary. A debate over shrink versus steak is actually a debate over who gets to dictate the weekend.
That is so true.
Ultimately, the group decided on a path that they actually refer to in the recording as the pork and beef route.
The pork and beef route.
And that specific culinary decision is what locked in their itinerary through the hills of Uti, Wayanad, and Coorg.
It has a great ring to it, the pork and beef route. But, to travel any route, you need your crew.
You do.
And the audio graciously lists the official cast of characters for this single car journey. We have Subhuda, Chandra.
Also known as Chandrali.
Right. Chandrali, Shibaji, Rajan, John, and Subuvo. Those 6 were the absolute confirmed ride-or-die members.
But of course, no friend group is complete without the classic wild card. Yeah. But despite the fence sitting, the core 6 seemed pretty unbothered. They aggressively locked in the dates.
February 17th to the 22nd.
The calendar was blocked. The pork and beef route was set. But as anyone who has ever traveled with a group knows, locking in the dates is just the preliminary round.
Oh, just the beginning.
Because as the trip got closer, the planning became intensely detailed regarding the physical realities of putting 6 adult human beings into one single car for days on end.
Spatial politics in a confined environment. It is where friendships are truly tested.
Completely.
You have 6 people, and suddenly the interior of a vehicle turns into a highly contested real estate market.
You aren't just picking a chair.
No, you are evaluating legroom, window access, proximity to the air conditioning vents, and crucially, proximity to the driver.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm.
Because the seating chart wasn't just left to chance on the morning of the trip.
Not at all.
There were aggressive preemptive strikes. In the recording, it's revealed that Chandra immediately, actively reserved the absolute last row in the car,
Just called dibs.
entirely securing that back row before anyone else even thought about it. And this wasn't just any seat. This brings us to my absolute favorite detail from the whole story.
It's so good.
That back row officially came to be known by the rest of the group as the sarcasm seat.
The sarcasm seat. It is such a brilliantly evocative term. Think about the psychology of that specific location in a vehicle.
Okay.
The front row is the command center.
Yeah.
The people up there are dealing with navigational stress, traffic, the physical labor of driving.
Right.
The middle row is usually the supply chain. They're managing the snacks, controlling the Bluetooth audio, passing water bottles back and forth. But the last row...
The spectators gallery.
Exactly. The last row is a spectator's gallery.
You are entirely removed from the stakes of the journey. You don't have to watch the road. You don't have to read the GPS. You don't even have to hand out the chips.
Nope.
You are just back there in the shadows, observing the chaos unfold in front of you.
And because you are removed from the responsibility, it breeds a specific type of commentary. It is the perfect breeding ground for cynicism.
It really is.
Every wrong turn the driver makes, every tense debate about where to stop for lunch along the pork and beef route, it all gets filtered through the occupant of the sarcasm seat. They provide this running, highly critical, purely comedic commentary to the rest of the car.
Oh, I know exactly the type.
I want you to think about your own life right now. When you pile into a car with your friends, who immediately calls dibs on the back row.
Who holds the title of the sarcasm seat in your group?
Because every group desperately needs one to keep the tension from boiling over with laughter. But they also secretly want to leave that person at a rest stop.
It is a very delicate balance. You want the laughs, but you don't want to be mocked for missing an exit. Chandra definitely knew what they were doing, claiming that throne so early.
Oh, absolutely.
But while the sarcasm seat was locked down, there was a much more critical role that needed to be filled. The pilot of this entire operation.
Right.
The group points out that Subway Da, also referred to as Subuvo, stepped up to be the designated driver.
A hero.
And with that heavy crown came one very strict, explicitly stated group rule: absolutely no drinking and driving.
Which is, of course, the fundamental law of any responsible road trip. But the way they discuss it highlights that establishing this rule wasn't just about safety.
What was it about?
It was about defining the parameters of the trip's leisure. By explicitly stating that the driver is completely abstaining, you are setting the stage for the rest of the group's consumption.
Ah, I see.
Sepoida is making a massive sacrifice for the group's greater good. He is taking on the physical burden and the mental fatigue of the journey so the others can fully engage in the vacation.
He was literally carrying the dreams of the entire WhatsApp chat on his shoulders. If Subway Day gets tired, the whole pork and beef route grinds to a halt. But even with the seating chart solidified and the designated driver locked in, there was still the issue of when this grand chariot was actually going to depart.
The hardest part.
And this brings us to the actual day of the journey, where a fierce, fundamental debate erupted over the start time.
Of course.
You see, the group was operating on two entirely different temporal realities. We had India Standard Time, which is the actual objective reality of the clock.
Right.
And then we had the group's own internal mechanism, hilariously dubbed Ryasandra Standard Time.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the concept of Ryasandra Standard Time is a universal phenomenon disguised as an inside joke.
Yeah.
Ryasandra is a neighborhood, so this is highly localized to their specific friend group. But every single social circle, every family has a localized time zone.
Usually based on their most chronically late member.
Or perhaps just the collective inertia of the group itself.
And they're very specific about the math here. Ryasandra Standard Time is not some vague concept where people might be 10 minutes late.
No, it is a rigid formula.
It is explicitly, precisely, always exactly 2 hours behind regular time. If the text message says, wheels up at 8 a.m., Ryasandra Standard Time translates that to, I might start looking for my shoes at 10 a.m.
That 2-hour lag is a psychological buffer zone.
A buffer zone.
Yes. It represents the friction of moving 6 independent adults out of their individual lives and into a shared, confined space. Somebody is going to forget their phone charger.
Naturally.
Somebody is going to take too long saying goodbye to their cat. Somebody is going to insist on brewing an intricate cup of pour-over coffee right as the bags are being loaded into the trunk.
Every time.
Reyes Sanders Standard Time is an institutionalized acceptance of human fallibility. The group has actually quantified their own chaos. They know they are a mess, so they built a 2-hour buffer into the architecture of the trip so that nobody has to actually be angry when they don't leave on time.
I have to push back on that a little bit. Because while it sounds very enlightened and zen, I know myself that would drive me absolutely crazy.
You wouldn't accept it.
If I am packed and standing by the door at 8 a.m. and I have to wait until 10 a.m. for someone to finish their artisanal coffee, I am not accepting their human fallibility.
Right.
I am plotting my revenge from the sarcasm seat. Think about your own friend group. Who is the person that forces you to build a 2-hour buffer into your plans? Because we all have one.
You might be plotting revenge, but at least you aren't fighting in the driveway. The buffer works, even if it's frustrating.
Fair enough, it kept the peace. But while they could manipulate time with their 2-hour buffer, they could not manipulate the law.
Nope.
Because as they finally hit the road, presumably 2 hours late, they ran into the final massive challenge of the trip, the boss battle.
Things escalated quickly here.
The audio introduces a scenario that abruptly shifts the genre of this trip from a breezy buddy comedy into a high-stakes heist movie.
It really does.
The group realized they had to figure out a way to smuggle their liquor through the Tamil Nadu border checkpost to get it into Udi.
It is a profound shift in the narrative. And to give a little context for why this is such a big deal, crossing state lines in India, especially into places with specific regulations or dry zones, often means navigating very strict alcohol transport laws.
That's right.
There are limits and there are inspections. Up until this point, their biggest conflicts have been internal.
Seafood versus beef.
Exactly. Who gets the back seat, what time we leave. Suddenly they are faced with an external institutional barrier, a state border checkpost with guards.
High stakes.
And this is where the sheer absurdity of the situation overrides all of that careful, months-long cross-time zone planning. Rational adults, who presumably hold down jobs and pay taxes, are suddenly forced to turn into amateur contraband smugglers on the shoulder of a highway.
And the brainstorming session that followed is just spectacular. When faced with the checkpost, the wild suggestions started flying. Idea number 1.
Oh, this one.
Camouflaging the booze by hiding it under the raw chicken in a cool box. Now, remember the pork and beef route? They clearly bought this chicken to cook later, and suddenly it's being deputized as a disguise.
Just visualize the sheer desperation of that suggestion. You have a cool box meant to transport the foundational ingredients of their culinary route.
Yeah.
And someone looks at a pile of raw poultry and thinks, ah, yes, the perfect disguise. The border guards will never look beneath the chicken.
It's incredible.
It shows a complete breakdown of logical reasoning. They are assuming the authorities will be so repulsed by or respectful of the raw meat that they will just wave the vehicle through. It's unhygienic, it's ridiculous, and it perfectly captures how your brain short-circuits when you see a uniform approaching your car.
It's the kind of idea that only makes sense when your heart is beating out of your chest. But if the chicken camouflage was a bad idea, idea number 2 was fundamentally worse.
Much worse.
Someone threw out the desperate idea of simply drinking all of the liquor before they hit the border.
Which completely violates the foundational rule of the trip we discussed earlier. They established a strict no drinking and driving policy. Subhoide is at the wheel.
Yes.
Picture this scenario. You've got 5 adults standing on the gravel shoulder of a highway, desperately chugging an entire weekend's worth of alcohol in 10 minutes flat.
A recipe for disaster.
If they actually did that, the interior dynamic of that single car is going to deteriorate instantaneously. You would have 5 incredibly intoxicated people, completely unmanageable, while Subhoide tries to navigate a border crossing with a straight face.
Good luck with that.
The fact that mass checking was even considered as a viable logistical solution shows you how high the stakes felt to them in that moment.
It's the ultimate cut off your nose to spite your face strategy.
Yeah.
They can't confiscate it if it's already in our bloodstreams.
Exactly.
Thankfully, sanity, or at least a slightly better class of criminality, prevailed. The group opted for a MacGyver-level solution instead of the raw chicken cooler or the mass chugging event.
They pivoted nicely.
They executed a much more subtle plan. The liquor was carefully poured out into different, completely inconspicuous bottles. Water bottles, soda bottles, anything that didn't look like alcohol.
Smart.
And then, those disguised bottles were hidden deep within the folds of a very specific location. Poetically, beautifully, they were stuffed into the folds of the last seat, the sarcasm seat.
There is a beautiful narrative symmetry to that. Chandra claimed the sarcasm seat for the privilege of pure commentary and zero responsibility. They wanted to just sit back and laugh at everyone else's stress.
Right.
But in the group's darkest hour, when they needed a haven for their contraband, the sarcasm seat was drafted into active duty. The seat of cynicism became the literal vessel for the group's salvation.
It's almost poetic.
It just goes to show that in a small car on a long trip, nobody truly escapes the logistics. Every inch of that vehicle and every person in it eventually has to pull their weight.
It really is incredible. Just think about the journey of those bottles. From their original packaging past the terrifying concept of the raw chicken cool box and right into the hidden depths of Chandra's domain in the back row. So what does this all mean?
This raises an important question about the true nature of these shared endeavors. We started by looking at a sprawling WhatsApp chat spanning multiple time zones where friends aggressively debated the culinary merits of a pork and beef route.
Yes.
We looked at the territorial disputes over car real estate to secure the sarcasm seat. We analyzed the psychological buffer of Rayasandra Standard Time.
And the chaos of the check post.
And finally, we unpacked the sheer chaotic panic of the Cool Box chicken camouflage and the Tamil Nadu border checkpost. What this really means is that this level of agonizing detail, the sheer willingness to endure endless logistical headaches, is a profound testament to the dedication of friendship.
It is. It's an act of love, even if it's disguised as a bitter argument over start times. They went to war in a group chat for months, just for the privilege of sitting in a cramped car together and stressing out over border guards.
Exactly. The obstacles, the time zones, the seating arrangements, the border guards, the late departures, they aren't actually impediments to the trip.
No.
They are the scaffolding of the shared experience. Overcoming the Rayasandra lag and successfully smuggling disguised bottles in the folds of the back seat, that becomes the mythology of the group.
The stuff of legends.
Those are the stories they will be repeating to each other at dinners for the next decade. The destination of Ooty or Wayanad almost doesn't matter as much as the absurd hoops they jump through to get there together.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. You've heard the lengths this group went to. The months of coordination, the fake time zones, the complex, slightly unhygienic smuggling operations.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, when a trip requires that much intense, deeply involved planning, is the actual physical road trip just the victory lap?
Oh, that's a great point.
Think about it for a second. Perhaps the real journey, the true bonding experience, the moments where they really solidified their roles as a group, actually took place entirely within the digital walls of that WhatsApp chat.
I love that.
Maybe the most significant part of the vacation happened before Subway Day ever even turned the engine on. Just something for you to ponder the next time your phone starts lighting up with a dozen chaotic messages about a simple weekend getaway. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and please, whatever you do, always cherish the sarcasm seat in your own life. You never know when you might need it to hide something important.